Goodbye, GoXLR. It's time to bury you. You've served me well, but off to the hardware graveyard with you. It finally happened. I removed my original GoXLR and its giant stand from my main desk setup. I still have one running my Retro Corner audio that I use for some streams and videos, but that might change too. I'm EposVox, the stream professor, and I have said for a long time that the GoXLR was a hard-to-beat value proposition, but not impossible to beat. For certain streamer-focused use cases, the GoXLR may as well have been the perfect product, so to speak. But it did have some issues and wasn't perfect for all workflows. We've seen competition slowly start to rise as the AverMedia live streamer Nexus and the Elgato Wave XLR released, as well as there's more coming that I can't tell you about yet, but I am excited for. One release that I wasn't sure that I would love so much is this little guy right here, the PreSonus Revelator IO24. This new audio interface is meant to be a badass multi-purpose USB interface for vocals, music, and creators of all kinds, but it actually seems to be perfect for my desk setup too. This thing is the same price or cheaper as the GoXLR Mini, but much more powerful, and competes with the full-size GoXLR in many respects. A pair of XLR and 1/4-inch jacks sits right on the front, already an upgrade from the other streamer-focused products for those doing content with either more than one speaker or someone who needs an extra hookup for instruments or something like that. You also have a teeny tiny little LCD screen, input configuration buttons, mute button, and a clickable dial for quick volume adjustment of a few different ways. Around back, you have a Kensington lock, USB Type-C connection, MIDI in and out, 1/4-inch main outputs for running to speakers, studio monitors, or another mixer. Thank you, PreSonus. Finally, someone doesn't forget us speaker users. Ugh. And a 1/4-inch headphone jack. I would have preferred the headphone jack to be up front and the XLR jacks to be around back, but this is fine as well. I actually have this hooked up to my PreSonus Aris 5-inch studio monitor speakers, funny enough. The box is sleek and clean in its presentation. There's a subtle blue LED ring around the main dial and backlighting to the buttons, but it's not in-your-face RGB or anything like that. The XLR preamps provide 60 dB of gain, which appear to be enough for the Electro Voice RE20 and Shure SM7B without a cloud lifter, as long as you don't plan on whispering or being too quiet. And it has 48 volts of phantom power available as well. The headphone amp works with an impedance range of 32 to 300 ohms, so it should work with most headphones, even good ones, but perhaps not all the crazy high impedance ones. The cool wizardry is in the internal DSP. Yes, much like the GoXLR, and unlike the Wave XLR or Blues mic effects that they've been adding to their microphones, the PreSonus Revelator IO24, which is quite the handful name, seems to have a pretty beefy DSP, or digital signal processor, on board. This not only gives you access to a variety of goofy voice effects, reverb, vocoder, doubler, etc., but also a proper fat channel audio chain featuring a high-pass filter, a noise gate, EQ, compressor, and a limiter built in. And unlike the GoXLR's super basic and limited graphical equalizer, I can actually achieve the sound that I like because the main EQ mode is a proper parametric EQ with adjustable Q width and everything. I was able to basically copy-paste my exact post-processing settings from Adobe Audition right here, and it matches up almost exactly. Previously, this had only been possible with the replug VSTs, and that only got, quote, close, not quite the same, and it's all being processed in the box without using up CPU cycles and not being limited to only when I have OBS recording or anything like that. This right here was the deciding factor for me to swap from the GoXLR to the IO24 for my main setup. As cool as the GoXLR is, and for most people who aren't obsessing over audio details, just making some tweaks in the GoXLR EQ is probably fine, I have always had issues getting the sound that I like out of its EQ, and felt its compressor left a lot to be desired as well. Again, probably fine for most people, but for a control freak that had a set way that I wanted to work, it didn't work for me. The IO24 gives a full proper parametric equalizer, or a passage or vintage style one if desired, along with a full normal compressor and limiter controls. Plus, you can change the order to have the EQ happen before the compressor or vice versa, which I love. The compressor also has 3 different modes: standard, tube, and FET, which is more of a vintage hardware compressor style. I stuck with standard since it's what I'm used to using and I'm familiar with, but you can definitely get more unique sound out of the different modes here. The only thing really missing from this fat channel was a de-esser. I was disappointed to not see it here, but realistically, I don't struggle with that too much and can easily just slap that on my OBS profile for a final safety check or safety pass in my recordings and streams. while it won't really be necessary for voice calls or anything like that. Not a huge deal, even if it was disappointing. Here's a sample comparing my Electro-Voice RE20 raw versus my processing chain in Audition versus the processing in the DSP on the IO24. 3 rings for the Elven Kings under the sky, 7 for the Dwarf Lords in their halls of stone, 9 for the mortal men doomed to die. 3 rings for the Elven Kings under the sky, 7 for the Dwarf Lords in their halls of stone, 9 for the mortal men doomed to die. 3 rings for the Elven Kings under the sky, 7 for the Dwarf Lords in their halls of stone, 9 for the mortal men doomed to die. The Revelator IO24 also gives you sub-mixing, which the GoXLR does not. You have a main monitor mix for your headphones and a separate stream or recording mix. You can also link your stream mix to your monitor mix if you don't want it, or swap your headphones to any of the mixes to keep an eye on them. There's also 2 loop-back sub-mixes that I haven't 100% fully figured out how to best utilize just yet. This will only be part 1 of my adventure with this audio interface, so get subscribed for part 2 where I provide a more proper tutorial once I've figured everything out more thoroughly. Takes time sometimes. I dislike that I can only move my headphones to the different sub-mixes and not move my speakers to each of them as well, but I understand why it works this way. What's cool here is that the main outputs, since they're provided as they are, could actually be paired with a bigger mixer for a proper mixing experience. I could just use the IO24 as my interface and mic processor, and then route it through my big Soundcraft mixer to get full mix controls and output to my headphones and speakers with more granular control if I'd like. This is more difficult on the streamer-focused products which don't have main outputs in the first place. I also don't like that I can't seem to make it through these submixes, at least that I have found yet, where my microphone doesn't also go out to my speaker main output without muting it also to my OBS output, which sounds dumb. Main output is main output, but I want to be able to leave my speakers on and still record in my microphone without the microphone spitting back out the speakers and being picked back up. So then I have to mute the entire main mix. It's a whole thing. Headphone volume, main volume, and monitor playback blend can be adjusted with the dial on the front of the interface. The mixing outputs can be a little confusing, as you have output devices in Windows for the main output and then 2 loopback devices. These loopback devices can also be sent to other applications to pair your program audio with your mic audio. This is useful for programs that only let you record one audio device at a time, so you want your microphone mixed with game sound or system sound or something, or looping relevant audio back to podcast guests over Zoom, etc. I find the overall UI for this entire software to honestly be a little confusing. It's been frustrating at various points trying to get the right settings to do what I want sometimes. It's weird. Be it the confusing mix UI, the difference between the individual effects in the fat channel being enabled or disabled versus the whole fat channel being disabled without me realizing it, or the big preset knob that doesn't save your settings if you accidentally turn it and then generally just sucks to use as most screen dials do. The GoXLR got a huge thing right with their routing table, and I hope to see other programs learn from that over time, because it doesn't seem like a lot have. Also, on-screen dials never really provide a good user experience, especially when I'm just selecting presets, which would work fine as a normal list. I wish programs would stop using these. This little box is a small chunk of the footprint of the GoXLR, has a much better processing chain for making your mic sound better and cleaner, has higher quality audio recording overall, and allows for 2 mics. The only thing that's missing is the sampler feature-wise, which is whatever, and there are alternatives for that, and I guess the physical faders. The physical faders will be slightly missed, but I know plenty of people who don't actually use them at all, and a later upgrade to this workflow would be the PC Panel Pro, which could be a more universally compatible pairing to use to control individual program applications and things like that to just adjust volume levels anyway. The IO24 isn't as compelling if you're a streamer that uses multiple PCs or a game console due to the lack of auxiliary and optical inputs. For a single PC streamer or non-game streaming in the first place, this could be a lot better though. And again, it almost seems most perfect to pair with a basic mixer that perhaps isn't great for powering your raw mic audio. Let's test a few of the more common mics here so that you can compare to the GoXLR and other interfaces that I have reviewed lately. Playlist link below. 3 rings for the Elven Kings under the sky. 7 for the Dwarf Lords in their halls of stone, 9 for the mortal men doomed to die. 3 rings for the Elven Kings under the sky, 7 for the Dwarf Lords in their halls of stone, 9 for the mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. For $200, you're getting a box that strongly competes with the GoXLR and other devices, but has a slightly different target use case. The parametric EQ immediately saves me a ton of time and frustration, and that was an easy switching choice. And I may eventually set up my mixer again to make up for any mixing deficits here. But I'm not sure it's even needed. I haven't given this out in a while, but this interface is the latest product to receive the official Stream Professor Approved badge. The value per cost and efficacy of the features makes it one of my top recommendations for streamers and content creators today. Choosing audio gear is great to improve your setup, but you know what makes your content even better? Improving your actual skills with our sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an awesome online learning community where millions come together to take the next step in their creative journey. They have thousands of inspiring classes on topics such as productivity, film and video, photography, and even web development. Skillshare is for beginners, pros, dabblers, and masters who want to improve their skill set or learn a new skill entirely. No matter your goals, Skillshare has classes to fit your schedule and skill level. If you want to do what I do, I highly recommend checking out the YouTube course from Marquez Brownlee or MKBHD. It's got some good stuff in there. I enjoyed seeing how his team's workflow works as well. The first 1,000 people to use my link in the video description get a free trial to Skillshare Premium membership. Check it out, link below. Product links are in the description below as always. Hit the like button and subscribe for more stream guides. Consider watching this other video on choosing a $100 microphone for streaming and content creation. And remember, be kind, rewind.